Here we are with another episode of Talking Sports with the Legend. Tonight's guest is our favorite play-by-play man, Tom McCarthy.
Thanks for doing this for me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Central Jersey in Brick, so it's kind of a shore town over near Point Pleasant and Seaside Heights, and went to school at the College of New Jersey. So that's how I wound up down in Mercer County, where basically I've been for the last, let's say, 40 years.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to a high school called Brick Memorial. So we had two schools in town, Steve. One of them was Brick Township. They were called the Dragons, and they were a really big football power. And then I went to Brick Memorial, which was kind of a new school that had branched off because our town got so big, and we were called the Golden Mustangs. So the Dragons were a little tougher at the time than the Golden Mustangs in football, but we were a really good basketball team. I played basketball and baseball when I was in high school. So we got their number with basketball and probably split most of the time with baseball.
Where'd you go to
College?
Yeah.
You said you went to that.
Well, ask again because you want to ask him the other questions.
What was your major in college?
There you go.
Well, that's a good question. I was actually a biology major at the College of New Jersey, which I know makes no sense at all. But I was really going to college just to play baseball. And then everywhere I applied, I was a different major. So at Trenton State College or the College of New Jersey, I was biology. And I think Rutgers, I was business. Indiana, I was journalism. North Carolina Wesleyan, I was hotel and restaurant management. I'm not really sure what I would have done with that, but I went to play baseball. My brother had gone there, and nobody in my family had gone to college, aside from my dad taking a few night classes at Seton Hall. So I really wasn't sure how to do it. I was a pretty good student, so I went to the College of New Jersey. Thought I was going to play baseball, and I wound up getting cut from the baseball team, but I still played in different leagues for the next 6 years, but wound up staying there and was a biology major for 2 years. Steve, have you ever taken biology classes?
No.
They are really hard. I was a really bad biology major, just so you know. So then I switched to communications and graduated with a communications degree.
Yeah, Steve's sister is a registered nurse, so
Wow, so she knows.
yeah.
Steve, ask your sister how hard organic chemistry was. That was a hard class.
Yeah, I'll go right to
Did
that
you
one.
get drafted by the MLB?
I did not. My son did when he was in high school, but I didn't. I wasn't good enough. I played baseball because I thought I was good, but I wasn't. I was good enough to play high school, and I probably could have played in college if I decided to go somewhere else. But I had a really good time in college. I had a lot of great friends. I met my wife in college, my senior year, and it's funny, Steve. All four of my kids have all gone to the same school I went to, so that's kind of neat to see them do the same kind of thing.
That's awesome.
What was your first job after graduating college?
So I was a writer, actually. I was a sports writer. So I worked for a paper called the Trenton Times. It was kind of like the Bucks County Courier Times or the Delaware County Times, one of those papers. So I would cover high school field hockey, wrestling, and baseball. And then I would eventually do college football and college sports. And I covered the Phillies actually in 1991, 92, and 93. I was the backup beat writer. So I was around when when Kruk was playing and Dykstra and Dalton, and they were making that run to the World Series. So I thought I was going to be a writer, and somebody told me I had a good voice when I was doing some interviews. Do you remember Mark Narducci, Steve, that wrote for the Philadelphia Inquirer? He was a longtime sports writer.
Yeah.
So I was on his radio show one day talking high school sports, and he said, or somebody that was listening from the station said on WIP, hey, you got a really good voice. You should think about doing this for a living. So I was like, okay. So that's when I started doing it. I was I did my college's football games and did some high school games. But I was a writer. That was my first job out of school.
That's awesome. So when you were doing the high school, were you getting paid? Were you volunteering just to get some?
I was getting paid. I would work about 35 hours a week. I would make decent money per hour. And then you know what else I would do? I would do the game on the radio, on the local radio. So I would then make like $100 just to do the game on the radio because I would sell the advertising and stuff like that. So I kind of double dipped. That's how I got started before I went into minor league baseball.
Yeah, because I was curious about that because I was going to say, I'm sure it couldn't have been enough money to.
No. Well, you know what? In college, guys, I was rich because I was making a pretty decent amount of money as a college student because I started when I was in college and kept going when I was outside of college.
That's awesome.
What is your favorite sport other than baseball?
That's a good question, Steve, because I get that a lot because I do football and I do college basketball and I love them both. I would have to say doing football on TV is probably my favorite thing to do besides baseball because the environment, the excitement. I mean, yesterday was pretty cool with the Eagles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to do that, like be at those kind of games, that's pretty neat. I mean, I'm really lucky. So I would think football on television is probably my favorite thing to do besides baseball, but baseball will always be my favorite thing.
Do you work for a specific NFL team or do you work for the network?
I work for the network, actually. I used to work for Rutgers football and Princeton. And then I sort of graduated up to working for CBS and Westwood One Sports. So CBS is TV and Westwood One is radio. So I kind of do both. Not necessarily full time, but I am contracted to do a certain amount of games every year. Like this week, I'm on TV for basketball. So I'm going down to DC to do Creighton and Georgetown on Wednesday. And then Sunday, you guys are going to have to tune into this, Ohio State at Michigan on Sunday. Nice. With Jay Wright as my partner.
Get out of here. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
This one's time.
What is your schedule like for Phillies night game?
So Phillies night game, I get up pretty early. So I usually get up and start reading at about, 7:30, 8 o'clock about the games that the Philly, like the games that the teams played in our division, like the Braves, the Mets, the Nationals. So I kind of get in tune with that. And then I kind of get my scorebook ready in the morning for that night's game. So I'll write notes, Steve, on both our pitcher, like let's say if it's Zach Wheeler or whoever the other pitcher is, I'll write little notes, about what they did their last time, what they, where they rank in the league, things like that. And then I'll take a little break, go outside, do a little running around, maybe shoot some baskets, try to get my my wind going a little bit. And then I get to the ballpark probably around 2:30 during night games and, go to the clubhouse, say hi to, Rob Thompson, the manager, and see if they have the lineup up and kind of get that stuff done, talk to some of the players, and then just kind of hang around the stadium, going to different meetings with players and the manager and the opposing manager and things like that. So I'm fortunate that my kids are all older. So, they're all at school or working. So I have a lot of time with my dogs during the day so I can get a lot of work done.
And me and Dad know Kathy Killian.
Yeah.
What's that?
Kathy Killian and I went to college together.
Oh, really? Kathy's great.
Yes,
Kathy's great.
Yeah.
She is great. She's great.
Steve interviewed her and
Scott Palmer.
Oh, did you? Scott Palmer has better hair than I do, Steve. It's not fair, actually, because he's a lot older than I am, but he still has a lot of hair.
You mentioned your son. He's announcing now also, right?
My oldest son is, yeah. He he's the Phillies AAA announcer, and he hopefully will have a major league job sometime in the near future, which is kind of neat. I mean, I love the fact he pitched in college. He was a 6'6" submarine pitcher in college. So, he's kind of got it in his blood a little bit too, like me. And then my other son is still playing minor league baseball. He's playing independent ball, and he's coaching college baseball as well.
Wow. Did you said he got drafted?
Yeah, my one son got drafted. My younger son got drafted out of high school by the Phillies and was going to went to St. Joseph's on a Division I baseball scholarship, and decided that he didn't want to play Division I. Went to the College of New Jersey, where I went, and he played with his brother, which was really cool that they got to play 3 years of baseball together. And he had a great career. Great career.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So he's still giving it a go though.
He's still giving it a go. Yeah. Hey, listen, there's nothing better than dreams.
Exactly.
You just if you can keep striving for them, keep striving for them.
That's awesome, and he's coaching. That's awesome. Huh?
Yep.
Was he coaching at the College of New Jersey?
He is. He's the assistant coach at the College of New Jersey. Yeah. So he he has a busy day. Like, he works out. He does all his stuff to get ready for the season. But then he also goes over to the school to work out the players too, which is kind of neat because he's not too far removed. So he's got a really cool intensity to him that I think the players kind of feed off of a little bit.
That's great.
Did you take over for Harry Callis?
I did. So when I was with the Phillies for 5 years, and then I was offered a chance to do more play-by-play. So, Steve, how you do this more and more, you get better and better at it.
Yeah.
So by doing more play-by-play, I was able to get better and better at it. So the Mets offered me a chance to do the whole game, whereas the Phillies, I only did 2 innings. So I went to the Mets for 2 years, and then I came back to do TV. And basically, I was supposed to take over for Harry on TV, and Scott Fransky would take over for him on radio when Harry retired. And then, unfortunately, he passed away in 2009, which was a really tough day for everybody. I miss him every day. I still have his bobblehead up here with Richie Ashburn. But we miss him every day, just having him around, because he and I, in the office, his desk was right next to mine. So, he was when I left to go to the Mets, he was the first person to call me. And then when I came back, he and Wheels were the first people to call me when I came back.
That's great.
Yeah, he was a good man. I was really lucky. Steve, your dad will tell you this. I worked with Andy Musser, who your dad listened to growing up,
Yes.
Harry Callis, and Wheels. And those 3 guys, and Larry Anderson, of course, but those 3 guys have had so much Phillies history to them. And they were such good people that for somebody who was young at the time, they were really helpful for me to become a better broadcaster and a better person too.
Yeah.
How cool was it to do the Phillies World Series games on the radio?
It was very cool, Steve. I mean, we missed it because we hadn't been in the playoffs, as you know, since 2011. So it was so long that we got into the habit of not being there that you kind of miss the energy of it. But man, it was great to be there. I got a chance to call Kyle Schwarber's home run in San Diego, the 488-foot one.
Mhm.
And, I had done so much TV that I'm sitting there calling it on radio, and I almost forgot to call it because I was in awe of watching it. I was like, whoa. I mean, it was hit so far, but it was great. It was great. It was so much fun. The energy was great too.
Yeah, I was telling Steven because he was talking about being on TV, and I said, well, now they always get knocked out for the World Series.
Yep.
Like the football,
Mhm.
the guys, Merrill Reese does it for, the local radio, but,
Yep.
they have somebody else doing the national broadcast. And
Which one?
Yeah.
but that's on TV, right? Exactly.
Mhm.
And this
Yeah.
year, whoever they got, it's on Fox TV.
Mhm.
So whoever does Fox this year.
Yeah. Kevin Burkhart's going to do the Super Bowl. So Kevin Burkhart and Greg Olson will do the Super Bowl.
Oh,
I
great.
worked with Kevin in New York. He and I were, both young broadcasters at the time, and he was a sideline reporter, so he didn't really do play-by-play, but he's turned into a very good play-by-play guy.
Yeah, they're a good pairing. I like Olsen.
Yeah, they're fun. They're very loose, which is cool.
Oh.
What Phillies minor league player are you most looking forward to, seeing grow?
Steve, that is a great question. Andrew Painter for me. Really good question. So when you see him on TV, he's going to be on the mound, and he's like 6'7", and he throws in the high 90s. So I think he's got a chance to help the team this year. But I don't think he's alone. I think there's other guys that could really have an impact this year too. But he is the one I'm really excited to see, because he looks like he could be a dominating pitcher, like Cole Hamels and Zach Wheeler and Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee, guys like that. And I think the cool thing is that we drafted him, so we didn't have to trade for him. So I'm excited to see him this year.
Do you think he'll be in the starting rotation, or
I don't think he will start, but you know what? If he has a good spring, who knows? I think it'll probably be early in the year, but I do think they're going to need to have at least 6 or 7 starters just because of injuries. But also, I think they noticed last year that, some of these guys wore down a little bit. So it's nice to have some extra arms that they could put in there in the middle of the year.
Exactly.
I remember that one guy we saw spring training.
Yeah, we went to spring training the year of COVID, 2020, right before it hit.
Yeah.
And God, who was he? He was a tall Hispanic kid, pitcher. I think he's still in the system too.
Was it? Was it? No, we had JT by then, so it wasn't Sixto Sanchez. It wasn't Christopher Sanchez.
I can't think of his name. And then
I can't think of who it is either.
The one kid was really cool. He was the one that
Kendall Simmons.
Yeah, Kendall Simmons.
Yeah.
Kendall Simmons. He's very good, very athletic, athletic kid. Yeah.
He got my wife. We got his autograph, and he was so excited that we asked him for his autograph, and we took a picture. And he said to my wife, "Can you send that to my Instagram?" And my wife,
that's funny.
It was hilarious. It was on his phone, and then my wife. He said to my wife, he goes, "Let me give you my phone number." And she goes, "Oh yeah, I got a 20-year-old's phone number." I said, "He's old enough to be your son. You better lay down." Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah, I mean, spring training, as you guys know, is a great spot to see some of these young guys, and this year even more because of the World Baseball Classic. Guys like JT and some of the other players won't even be there early on because they'll be at the World Baseball Classic.
Well, that's awesome. You get the young guys get a lot more playing time.
Yep.
Do you have any tips for anyone who wants to become a broadcaster?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing, Steve, is to do what you're doing now, is to get behind the microphone early. There's so many chances to do it now because of the internet. You can do a podcast, you can do something like this where we, talk on YouTube, or you can have opportunities at school where you can interview your classmates. I always think that getting behind a microphone or getting on a headset early makes you more comfortable as you get older. So I feel like I can talk to 10 people or 10,000 people, and I feel okay about it. I don't get nervous about it. I feel comfortable about it. So that's my biggest thing, is to try to do things like that early. And I also tell kids to take speech classes, because that gives you a chance to be in front of people, even if it's your classmates. And that's not easy. I mean, you know how hard it is, Steve, to be in front of, people your age. I mean, it's not easy all the time. So that to me is one of the big things that really helped me, is that I took speech classes, and I didn't even realize it was going to help me, but it really did help me when I was in college to take those classes.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, no matter what you're going to go into.
No matter what. Yep.
You're in college, you get a chance. And I took 2 classes. I went to college with Kathy. We went to a real small Spring Garden college, and they didn't have a whole lot of alternative classes to take, but that was the one that we took, both of us, and it was good because it got you in front of a room. And I always felt comfortable talking to people, but I talked too fast, and everybody told me to slow down, and that's when I better do something else besides broadcasting.
I used to do that all the time too. People used to say I talk too fast. My daughter does that now. She's a sophomore in college, and when she's all excited, she talks very quickly. But she's good in front of people, which is good.
That's awesome.
And the last question: if you could have dinner with 3 announcers, who would they be and why?
All right, so Vin Scully, because I miss him. And he's such an amazing person. So, Steve, how about this? When my dad passed away 5 years ago, Vin Scully was my dad's favorite broadcaster growing up because my dad was a Giants fan, a New York Giants fan, and a Brooklyn Dodgers fan. So Vin was one of my dad's favorite guys. So when my dad was really sick and was failing, Vin called me, and my dad used to listen to the Rosary. As Catholics, my dad was a very, very heavy Catholic, so he would listen to the Rosary all the time. And it was Vin voicing the Rosary. And I still have the voicemail from when my dad passed away that Vin left me just to tell me he was thinking about me. So he would be one. Ernie Harwell would be the other. So Ernie used to be the play-by-play announcer for the Detroit Tigers, but he used to do football on what is now Westwood One. So I used to do Princeton football, and a couple of times I would do stats for Ernie. Ernie would have been 105, I think, today.
Wow.
Anyway, he showed me how to keep score on a yellow legal pad because I had no computer when I did Princeton. I had no stats person. So he taught me how to keep score while I'm doing the game. And I still, to this day, show kids how to do that because there's not everybody has the stats in front of them. So I miss him too. I would love to sit down and have dinner with him. And then I'd have to say that HK would be the other one, just because, I want to tell him everything that's been going on over the last 12 years that he, since he passed, because there's been some pretty special things going on. And there's some Larry Anderson stories that I got to tell him just to make him laugh a little bit too.
Steven had another question. Steve, ask him about John McCarthy.
Are you related to John McCarthy?
The soccer player?
No, I'm not. So the McCarthys, Steve, are built for comfort. They're not built for soccer. So we've never been fast and we've never been nimble, but we can make a jump shot. We can hit a ball. Sometimes we can hit a golf ball straight, but not all the time. But we could never really compete on the soccer field because we were never quick enough.
That's what I said, McCarthy, we're a McGarry. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Phillies have a McGarry on their.
So that's the other kid, Griff McGarry, who I think you have to look out for this year. So when you get his jersey, Steve, people are going to say, "Oh, did you get Griff McGarry's jersey?" And you say, "No, I got Steve McGarry's jersey."
That's right. There you go. See, we got to wait for you to get on the Phillies. Well, we really appreciate you doing this, Tom, taking the time out of your busy schedule.
My pleasure. I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the fact that you guys are such big Phillies fans.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Tom, very much.
All right, guys, have a great night.
You
Look
too.
forward to catching up again.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good job, Steve. You did great.